Welcome, everyone, and thank you for tuning in today's episode of Strengther, brought to you by CXO Digital Pulse. In this special series, we spotlight the inspiring stories of resilience, courage, and perseverance shared by women who have made a significant impact in their fields. We would define our guest today as a fractional CMO, growth advisor, marketing strategist, digital evangelist, investor, and an avid world traveler. She's a proponent of diversity, women empowerment, and tech leadership. During the course of her career, she has mentored several women executives who have taken up the senior leadership roles across technology, fashion, marketing, startups, and entrepreneurship. Please welcome none other than Suchita Vishnoi.
Thank you, Pratik. I must compliment you for the name that you've chosen for the series called Strengther. I think that's a great coining of name and collaborating with women leaders across. So, thank you for having me over.
It's all our pleasure, Suchita. That is what I can say. Thank you for being with us today. And we really look forward to this conversation with you. But before that, I would like to have a rapid fire round with you. So,
Okay,
starting,
I thought rapid fire is always at the end, but I'd love to begin with that. Go ahead.
we have kept purposely in the beginning so that we can start on a lighter mode, get to know more about you, and then delve into
Sure,
really deep, intense talk.
sure.
Done. So, Suchita, you identify yourself as an early bird or a night owl.
A night owl for sure, not an early bird. Thank you.
Okay. And during meetings, you prefer tea or coffee?
Coffee always.
Okay. One tech innovation you can't live without.
I think just this instant messaging and the use of WhatsApp for business, for staying connected, for sharing real life information is something none of us can stay without. So I would pick up that as one of the tech innovations.
Okay. And a skill you wish to master.
The ability to look through time to be able to foresee future. I know that's a miraculous skill to have, very difficult to master, but with tech and with everything that's happening around us, just the ability to see the future is something I would love to be able to master if I could.
A curious mind, I would say.
Thanks, Pratik. This sets a
Um,
good note for our onward conversation.
Definitely. And your stress relief activity would be what?
I would say travel. Like I do take my trips like once a quarter, once in a few months, and on a daily basis, it would be working out, like doing my strength training. That's a stress reliever.
Okay, great, Suchita. Now we'll move forward to our main segment where we will understand certain principles, experiences, and your advice for our viewers. So, starting with the first question, Suchita, we got to know that you believe in the Yin Yang principle. So, how has this principle applied by you to enhance the energy and balance at your workplace?
So, to me, yin and yang is energy. Like it is a principle of life, and everything that exists in this world has both elements of yin and yang. And it's something that's got up a lot in the recent times, especially when we are talking about bringing the best of ourselves to work, right? So, while it's a concept which is actually deeply rooted in Chinese philosophy, but I see the Hindu version of this being Shiv and Shakti, if you've heard of it, right? How do we complete our universe with the Shiv and Shakti coming together, right? So, what it means is the interplay of two complementary forces that make up all aspects of life, right? Creating a dynamic balance, and this is most needed at a workplace, right? All of us will accept that we need to bring um, you know the two levels of energy at workplace to be able to balance the way we work. So it can be applied, like I said, to a workplace scenario as well, right? So while yin really represents femininity, yang is masculine, they balance each other, and when one increases the other decreases, right? So in a world where there's diversity that's being most welcomed, right? So getting both these energies to workplace, like I said, it would create magic. There's so much of productivity enhancement that'll happen. There's output that'll accelerate. There's perfection that'll come because you are bringing the best of both. And I can't think of any better way of telling you what a believer I am of yin and yang. If you see, I do have a tattoo that represents yin and yang, because I think that's the best way of me getting myself out to the world as well, because I feel that I have the heart of a woman but the mind of a man, and that's the magic that I bring wherever I am, at workplace or in my personal life as well. So this symbolizes the interconnectedness of nature and human elements, and that eventually leads to balance and harmony, and that will definitely foster higher productivity, better human to human connection at work. So if I'm able to answer this correctly, this is exactly how I'd like to put this through.
Great. And your tattoo definitely symbolizes the kind of strong belief you have in this
In
yin
the
and yang
principle,
principle. Right.
yes.
Great.
Thank you.
And Suchita, as we talked about the workplace, we believe that the dynamics at workplace have changed in past 2 decades. So,
Yes.
what are the key elements that you identify are the significant changes, and how can professionals, specifically women, can strategically implement or adapt to these changes?
Yeah, I'd start with the first thing, that time is limited and opportunities today are immense, right? So, to me, that whole essence of time remains the same 24 hours for all of us. But there's so many opportunities and there's so much to do, right? I'll come to the workplace piece as well. The whole idea now for any man or woman, and if we are specifically talking about women, is how do you ride the wave of this opportunity that you'd like to take, and especially in this phase of time. Your career span could be 20 years, 25 years. How do you take on the right opportunities and ride the wave, right? So if I focus back onto where we are today, there's been a lot of shift from hard work to smart work, right? The focus is now on output and making a difference. It's no longer dependent on longevity or physical presence at workplace. You know that, right? After COVID, there's so much of remote work happening, people log in from anywhere. Everyone is now only accountable for what they do in terms of output. So long hours of being physically available at office is no longer required. You could be remote, you could work with flexibility as long as you give what is required for your role. So companies today are looking at how fast employees can turn things around, and in this age of digital chat gpt gen ai, we don't have the leisure of time, so time is of essence, and that's the big factor that all of us need to keep in mind. Everything needs to be done now. You can't just push it back saying I'll do it later, because there's someone else who's doing it faster than you, right? So most of what is expected today from employees is non-negotiable. There are things that you've got to do, and within that limited period of time. So while there's flexibility, there's also a no compromise on quality and the outcomes that your ever evolving job market is offering. So from that perspective, and I just laid down the whole landscape of today's work scenario. Women today must focus on future proofing their careers. And how does that happen? And we can talk more about skills and upskilling. That is what would create the differentiator that organizations want. So women at workforce, and I can give you my example as well. When I did my MBA, it was 96, 98 batch. Most of what I did then is not even relevant today. And I've worked with the most up, the top class IT organizations, and I've built brands across IT products and IT services. And what I studied then may not have been relevant today if I hadn't upped my skills and continuously contributed, either in the learning phase and also, of course, distributing the knowledge that I have. So, having that, building a mental calendar on how you're going to upskill yourself in a continuous way is absolutely important. Then having an opinion on things, being on social networking platforms is of great importance as well. Being heard, being spoken about, having the right connects, those are a bunch of uh, activities that women should just naturally take on to be able to foster in a current work environment that all of us are in, which is forever evolving.
Okay. And while Suchita, you talked about various vectors from productivity to upskill, there's an important vector, emotional intelligence, which people used to talk about. But as of today's workplace, the dynamic environment where we are, how relevant do you think this vector is for today's workplace?
Okay, extremely important. Extremely important. That differentiates us as humans from things that are constantly around us, from any other living being which is not human, right? So, in a world that is driven by algorithms, data, there's so much precision today, right? There's AI, everything around us. We know if we want an answer, we know how to get it. If we want to know what the weather is like, we can get it. How to reach a particular place, we know how to go about it. To know about something, we can search, right? So EQ is of utmost importance, especially now, because it's slowly weaning away, and it's creating a vacuum for humanizing our daily chores. So all the daily chores that I'm talking are more process driven, very operational, right? So how do we get in the EQ part? Because that's where the real human touch comes, right? How do you get that? So we need to be able to draw a line between what machines can do today, which is implied IQ, and what humans can do, which is applied EQ. Um, More often than not, there's often a gut feeling, right? We say, oh, that's my gut feeling when data fails us, or um, when we don't know what to do and we don't have an answer. There is a gut feeling, and that gut feeling cannot be replaced by a machine, right? So we need to bring our EQ at work to be able to take those long and short term decisions, because sometimes it's that gut feeling or our EQ, so to speak of, that actually helps bring people together, make businesses prosper, and create that human to human connect, which is very essential, especially in today's world when everyone's working remotely. Face to face meetings are important. We need to go meet up our clients. We need to be connecting with teams on in real time basis, and that's when the EQ takes over a lot in real life situations like these, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. So, Suchita, you also talked about longevity. So, specifically talking about career longevity, if I may direct the conversation in that direction. So, what
Yeah.
factors do you think contribute to career longevity in today's fast evolving job market? And how can individuals plan a sustainable and fulfilling career considering this aspect?
So I would say, Pratik, often everyone would say it's only upskilling, and everyone's talking about skilling, upskilling. There are other elements also that are important for longevity of a career or evolving your career over time, right? So having a sustainable career is one that aligns with your own values. So what are your values? What would you like to achieve or contribute? How do you see yourself learning through this entire curve that you're spanning out as your career, right? So there is the learning piece, which is very important. There's also a giving away piece that's very important, that supports our overall life journey. But I'll talk about a couple of things that are very relevant, apart from, of course, we will touch about skilling, upskilling, etc. And I think we also need to focus on certain aspects of, how do we integrate work and life together. Those are the elements I'm referring to. So firstly, staying relevant in a dynamic work environment through continuous learning. Adaptability is very crucial, right? If you're very staunch in the ways you'll work or you'll operate, you're not flexible, you're not adapting to your new reality, that is going to cut down your career span for sure, right? Investing in lifelong learning, upskilling, like we spoke, attending different workshops. They may not be directly related to your area of field, but you need to understand the dynamics of the overall business, which means There may be other teams and other, other functions that also impact how you work in your, like for instance, marketing cannot just work in silos. It needs to engage very well with sales, understand the sales cycle, or understand what goes on with the tech teams, right? So just stay updated on what goes on in the bigger scheme of things, stay updated with industry trends, which is very essential, and adapt to new technologies and methodologies, so that you can bring the newness and freshness to your work on a regular basis, right? Also, I would say, like I said, work life balance and seamless work life integration is so important. How do you maintain that well being, so that your work and your life both are interrelated? No matter how hard we say, oh, I don't get my personal life to work, or I don't get my work to my personal space, but that's very difficult because we as single human beings are carrying that, right? So changing roles or doing that does take a toll, and especially a woman who's playing the role of a mother, a manager, she's a wife, she's playing several roles, right? And a team leader. So consider flexible schedules, reduce hours of work, so that you're doing more productive work in a shorter span of time. So you have to build your schedule or your calendar in such a way. Uh, be very centered around health and wellness, very important. Take, that becomes the center stage in many ways. So mindfulness and being holistic about your own well-being, which means, regular exercises, stress management. There's enough and more groups that you can reach out to. So regular exercise, stress management, even your mental well-being, etc., really contribute to the long-term career. So if we talk about longevity, it's not just the fact that you are upskilling and you have the right skills. Also, how good are you holistically? How well are you doing holistically? That's very important, right? Also, I'd like to bring this point around, network and building a professional relationship. I mean, building a professional network with people around, in with your peers, with people you aspire to be with, having someone who can be your guide or your coach. It could be a professional coach or a life coach, a combination of both. That also helps being able to put the correct milestones in your next few years, 5 years, 3 years, that you'd like to, continue to grow in your career and build that longevity piece. Having a
Okay.
positive attitude, a growth mindset, those are things like I mentioned. And networking, mentorship that I spoke, mentorship is very important. Seeking and having a good mentor. Connecting with experienced professionals on platforms like LinkedIn. LinkedIn gives us so much availability of reaching out to people, asking for help, and being part of the right community. So those are really elements that I would touch.
Okay, great. And Suchita, you have been in this marketing sector for over 2 decades now. So, if you were to choose an alternate path, which field would have you pursued instead?
So I'd say I'm a marketer by heart. Honestly, it's very difficult for me to think of doing anything other than marketing, because I've done this for past 2 decades and I feel very fulfilled on my professional side, that though this was exactly what I would have done. However, if it had to be anything different, it would be most aligned to elements of marketing, which would be either with design, creativity, exploration, or anything in the field of human interaction. Anything that's got to do with real life communication, media. So those are definitely things that would use the best of both my right and my left brains, I would say. So that's what comes to my mind. At the start of my career, we didn't have as many choices that we have today. So I would say, women at workforce today have so much more to choose from. If there are tracks that you need to change because your passion takes you there, it's worth exploring, definitely. I would definitely recommend, it's worth exploring now. At our time, we didn't have that many options or opportunities. It was more like marketing. Now, under marketing, there are so many sub teams and so much more one can do. So,
Right.
yes.
So it was definitely an insightful conversation, Suchita, where we delved into various aspects, such as work life integration, moving a step ahead of balance, embracing one's yin and yang,
Yes.
adapting to dynamic workplace shifts, valuing one's EQ, and committing to a lifelong learning that will definitely move us or push us towards the thriving professionals who we are today. So, thank you so much for giving us the time and sharing your insights with us.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Pratik. Thanks, Ria, for this time. I enjoyed this too.
Great.
Thank you.
And for our audience, thank you for joining us on this journey with Suchita. And do keep watching the space for similar inspiring conversations with the leading women in the industry. Till then, take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.